Okay, hi everyone. My name is Stella Waitera, and I am the team lead of African STEM Summit and the STEM Exchange Program. So today we shall be hearing and learning from Ian Okumu. Ian is a well seasoned Android developer, also proficient in other languages like Ruby, Kotlin, I believe, is his specialty now, mostly Python, and so much. He will actually share a little bit of what he does. So, Ian, welcome to the STEM Exchange and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak at this forum, and yeah, I'm very much happy that I got this chance and this opportunity. So, like it's been said, my name is Ian Okumu. I am I like to think of myself as an educator. I do a lot of um, educational content regarding technologies, mostly surrounding mobile and web development. I also like to refer to myself as an engineer because I build products, I build solutions. I like to see and hear about different technologies and tech stacks that do exist, and I also like to call myself a mentor. You'll see somewhere I work. I actually have my official role as a mentor somewhere. But just generally outside of that, I like to see other people new in the technologies that I use and work with grow and yeah, just offering a helping hand, something that I feel I should have been offered some time back. Probably could have helped me to move along quicker in the field. And most importantly, for all the other three, you can forget, but don't forget that I am a friend. So I like to offer a helping hand just as a friend outside of being an educator, being an engineer, being a mentor. That's a bit of what I do. Um, I I've done a few things. I've done a few things. I think there's some fun facts about myself. To start with, in campus, I did finance and applied mathematics course, and a lot of people always ask me, "Why did you end up in software engineering? How did you end up in tech?" And you were doing a lot of finance stuff. And fun fact is, I actually enjoyed doing it. Actually enjoyed doing it. Yeah, I just enjoy mathematics. I enjoy the complex calculations. I think that's why it was easy for me to get into some computer science stuff because a bit of it is also on the mathematical end of it. Something else, I always aspire to be a pilot. I always thought that if worst comes to worst, I'll just end up being a pilot. But at some point, serious acrophobia set in, and I can even rarely fly to any place, let alone being a pilot. Just being a passenger going to any place. Heights, the fear of heights, or some people call it the fear of falling down, consumes me very, 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 very heavily. Um, my go-to drink is always just coffee, right? Yeah, I think it always offers a smooth sensation to me somewhere. Yeah, coffee is just my go-to drink. Um, where I'm from Nairobi, the city in the sun. I think for those from Nairobi, you know that we are the only capital in the world with a game park. Um, so that's something I'm very, very proud of. I live and stay in Nairobi fully. I'm actually born and raised in Nairobi, so it's been a good time in my life here in Nairobi. I've worked at different companies before, but this is just a few of the places I've been. Um, from 2017, I've been working as an Android engineer in various startups here and there. With this, I've been able to contribute to the company's product and building some of their internal tools and so on and so forth. I currently double as a senior technical trainer at Moringa School. In fact, actually called senior technical mentors. So hence the name and the introduction that I am indeed the mentor. But yeah, on the personal side and also on the professional side, I work as a senior technical mentor, which ideally is a trainer at Moringa School. And Moringa School is a very popular boot camp um, around the world. I also work as an Android instructor at Codeco. So Codeco, it was what was previously called Rewandalik, if you've ever heard of it before. It's very, 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 very popular mobile coding bootcamp. We offer courses on Android, iOS, and Flutter, but I actually work on the Android side. Um, what keeps me inspired and motivated going through life? Number one, sometimes I just like reading books that are creative. You know, I can't say I read a lot, but um, I love creative books. I love books where people have thought outside of the regular barrier that is offered by the normal human mind. I do enjoy very, very, very much. So anything that's all around fiction, I think I'll probably be reading it just to enjoy how people thought outside of the regular realms of the world. I also like traveling. I absolutely love traveling. It's an expensive hobby, but I love exploring. I love enjoying. I enjoy meeting new people, different places, discovering new cultures. Also to see what's outside of what I'm used to, what's outside of what I know. So yeah, that keeps me properly inspired for such kinds of things in my life. During my free time, I do several other things. Number one, like I said, I like being, or rather, I like airplanes, and I wanted to become a pilot at one point. So you'll find me airplane watching. You'll find me at air shows. You'll find me doing airplane model collection. That's a bit of things that I do myself for a while. I also do a lot of volunteer work with regards to just the tech space. I do volunteer training for teens, kids. Also do volunteer training for adult learners. Just things regarding the tech world and things that I do in my tech stack. But the most important part of what I do with my free time is developer community growth. I participate in a lot of community events. This is one of them. This is one of them. And I like to do a lot of public speaking on topics around Kotlin, Android, across the African continent, really. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, South Africa. This year I'm hoping to get to Mauritius for a tech event. So I do a lot of community events. I speak at community events. I volunteer as a staff member at community events because I do believe that community is the way to go. Like um, us coming together and pulling our resources together to learn something, to understand something, to build something. I think that holds a very, very big value to me, and that's why that's my biggest thing that I do on my free time: developer community growth. These are just some of the links of the works that I've done before. You can find them on different places. I'm sure they'll be put somewhere in the chat. Um, on GitHub, you can find me on the username Otsembo. Otsembo being my third name, so I'm Ian Okumu Otsembo. On LinkedIn, you can find me on the link linkedin.com/in/okumu-ian, or if you searched Okumu Ian, I think you would be able to find me somewhere. I do also write a lot of technical articles. You can find me on otsembo.hashnote.dev, medium.com/@okumu.otsembo. I'm sure all this you'll have somewhere um, in your chat box. So you can go through the things I do. Most of the work I do is open source. I do also have a YouTube channel known as KT Whisperer. just stands for Kotlin Whisperer. It's also somewhere I post a lot of Kotlin content, Android content. Um, yeah, that's a bit of where you can find my work. And what should you expect in this session? I think we'll take a deep knowledge dive in Android, working concepts of Kotlin, and especially some UI framework for building Kotlin apps that we're also going to look at. With a lot of practical stuff. I think this should be my second last slide, if not the last one. We'll do a lot of practical bits, and then we also expect to be a bit interactive. So in the chat box, if you have a question, make sure to post them on so that I'm able to respond to them as quickly as I can. I think that's about it, and I'm looking forward to just speaking to you all on different topics and concepts. So today I wanted to have an introductory speak on building multi-platform applications with Kotlin, and I wanted to do that using a very nice and simple, straightforward example, and we can see how we can actually work with Kotlin as a language to build apps that can be functioning across apps that function across multiple platforms. Now, Kotlin is a programming language that traditionally was meant to run on the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, but over time it has evolved past the JVM, and now Kotlin stands on its own. It's no longer dependent on Java and the Java Virtual Machine. Now Kotlin stands on its own. So Kotlin can be compiled to JVM platforms. So in case you're already using Java, Kotlin just comes in and fits in very smoothly and seamlessly. Number two, Kotlin runs on the web now using WASM. So WASM is just a technology we call WebAssembly. WASM is just a short for WebAssembly. WebAssembly is a means of making the web a bit of independent from the operating system, such that you can do a lot of things outside of what your OS does. And a very good example, if you've ever used something like Figma, Figma runs on WASM. So it's a whole application that runs on your browser, but it utilizes or behaves as though it's an app that had already been installed on your machine. Kotlin can also be compiled into native binaries, and these native binaries can be accessed across multiple platforms. A good example is you can write a lot of iOS and macOS applications using Kotlin now. That's one of the big advantages of Kotlin, because you can compile it to native binaries. This means you don't really need anything like a virtual machine. Your code can actually be transpiled to the actual platform that you want it to be used on. And this includes things like, number one, iOS apps, watchOS apps, iPadOS apps, macOS applications, and of course the use of traditional native apps like apps that we've been writing with C++ and C can also now be written with Kotlin, because you can convert it to native binaries without any virtual machines needed. Kotlin can also be used to write applications that run on the desktop. This comes through the JVM platform though, but still always worth it to note that, yeah, you can write native desktop applications. So an example would be if you are watching this stream on your computer, you probably are on a browser. That browser has been installed onto your machine. So that's a desktop application. So the browser itself is a desktop application, so you can make search with Kotlin. For this call, we will try to create an application that is very straightforward, very simple, and it speaks on how we can build an application that will run on all these platforms. So on Android, on iOS, on the desktop, and also on the web through WASM. There are multiple frameworks that you can leverage, but I will use the primary framework that is used most of the time is used most of the time, and this is our UI rendering framework known as Compose Multiplatform. So Compose Multiplatform is our UI rendering library that is based off something we call Jetpack Compose in Android, and it gives us a way through which we can write declarative UIs that can be run on these multiple platforms. To get started with Kotlin, there's of course the Kotlin Lang official documentation site. So this just speaks of the different things that we can use. It got the official documentation. It has different solutions for different products as to what you can use. Currently, the latest stable version of Kotlin is Kotlin 1.9.23. 1.9.23, and it's, as you can see at the very beginning, Kotlin tells you we are multi-platform, and now we have the freedom to write code once and have it run anywhere, have it run absolutely anywhere that we want. Before, a lot of people usually ask, what difference does Kotlin multi-platform offer that things like Flutter or React Native or the different other multi-platform or cross-platform applications offers? And the one thing that Kotlin multi-platform has as an advantage we can call is, with Kotlin multi-platform, you can choose how much of your code you want to share. Most other platforms require you to share absolutely everything. Requires you to share absolutely everything. But with Kotlin multi-platform, you are given a choice. If you want to share 5% of your code base, 10% of your code base, 20% of your code base, depending on what you want and how you feel. That is the one big advantage of Kotlin multi-platform. And it's been something that has allowed me to be very, very free in how I write my programs, because if I'm feeling comfortable writing a specific feature in C, C++, Swift, etc., I am able to do it while also leveraging the power of Kotlin. So I can choose how much I want to share at what point and to get to which part. To get started with Kotlin multi-platform, you can head over to kotlinlang.org. Kotlinlang.org is the main Kotlin documentation page. I am a big fan. I'm usually a very big fan of reading documentation pages. I think anyone who ever meets me and they're looking to learn something, I always tell them, first open the docs page, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're on the docs page, and you can of course always go through a few parts on the docs page, but the idea that I had is we can go to the solutions portion. There's a drop-down menu that speaks on multi-platform. Let's have a click on this. So you can see Kotlin multi-platform allows us to share code on my own terms. And that's the beauty that I think Kotlin multi-platform offers, is that you can share to whichever portion. So I spoke about Android, Mac platforms, web, desktop. The one thing I forgot to mention was we can also share server-side code. So say, for instance, there's something common between yourself, your front-end app, and your server. You could always share this. It's always difficult to get things that you share with the server and the client, but there are some few things. That I think you can do with the server. So To get started with Kotlin multi-platform, you can use the Kotlin multi-platform wizard. So it gives us a very, very nice start-off point. Gives us a very nice start-off point for our application, which I recommend using. I think setting up a Kotlin multi-platform project can sometimes have a lot of things you need to set up and do. So we may need to just use the wizard so that we get quickly set up. For us to get quickly set up. So there is a very nice wizard. Change this to light theme. A very nice wizard found at kmp.jetbrains.com. kmp.jetbrains.com. So there is a few things. So there's the new project section where you can choose the different things that we want to do and use. There's also the template gallery now. So this one has joined very recently. The template gallery, you can now select different templates that you can use. So you can see there's the shared UI multi-platform app. So this one is running on Android and iOS. So you can just download this template that contains already set up things with Android and iOS. There's also another one for native UI multi-platform app. So this one allows us to write common code with Kotlin, and then each UI built with their native technologies. So an example would be on Android, you'd use Jetpack Compose, which is the framework that that Android developers use, and on iOS there is Swift UI. So you can also write with Swift code that runs on iOS. And then there's a multi-platform library. So in case you intend to set up a multi-platform library that people can use, you could always use this as a template. For our case, we're not going to use the template gallery. We're just going to go onto the new project. Let's have this project be known as a BMI calculator. I think that's what we can create. That's what we can create. We can create some form of BMI calculator. You need to provide a project ID. For this one. So this usually comes through with how you want to name your packages. So this one just needs to be some unique value that you'd want to put. I'll call mine com.africa STEM Summit .bmi. I think that's what I'm going to call my project ID. com.africa STEM Summit .bmi. And then I need to choose which platforms I want to work on. The first one is Android, so I'm going to check that. So I'm going to make sure Android is there. So the UI will be built using Compose multi-platform. UI will be done using Compose multi-platform. I'll also have a choice of iOS. I'll also want my app to run on iOS devices. So I'm also going to check that. Again, there's two options. You can either use iOS with its native UI using Swift UI. I'm not going to do that. I want to keep everything on Kotlin. So I'm going to check the options for sharing UI with Compose multi-platform UI framework. There's also the desktop. I also want to be able to run my app on a desktop. So the desktop entails running it on Windows, running it on Mac, running it on Linux machines. So I'm also going to check desktop. Desktop also uses Compose multi-platform UI framework. So that's very nice. We can use the same UI framework across the board for this specific application. I also want to run it on the web, right? I'm also interested in running it on the web. So I'm going to check the web. And the web, we're going to run it on WebAssembly. And it's powered by Kotlin Wasm. So Kotlin Wasm is a technology that allows us to target applications that run on WebAssembly. I don't think I'll be needed to write anything server related because our BMI calculator, I guess. You know what? Actually, let's have, yeah, we can have it run on the server. Like the calculations can run on the server. Let's do that. Actually, let's do that. So we can also share server framework. We can also share the server. So we can share some code. Yeah, let's share some code that will run on the server as well. It's going to show us just how every single thing ties up. We might not share much code with the server and the front end, because for the front end, it's pretty much the same code. The server has a little bit of two things that might need extra setup, but it's fine. And then we're going to download this. So let me quickly, sorry. Let me quickly save that. Let me quickly save that. So I've downloaded a zip file. I have downloaded a zip file. So just a minute. So I do have my zip file, my BMI calculator app. So I'm just going to extract this file. I will just extract this file. And you'll see it has several files and folders that we can look into. So to have us get started, we will need to use IntelliJ IDEA. It's the recommended IDE for building Kotlin multi-platform applications. You could also use another one called JetBrains Fleet. That one's a bit more, can I call it a bit more usable? It's lightweight. Yeah, so you could either use IntelliJ IDEA, which is what we will use in this stream, but you could also use JetBrains Fleet. So JetBrains Fleet is one very nice one. So just as a means of showing you how it kind of looks. So yeah, JetBrains Fleet, the code editor and IDE for any language. I really like this because you can do a lot of collaboration. You can write any language. It has code support for literally any language that I've ever decided to use. Fleet has, unless it's some new language you've created yourself. But yeah, almost every new language that I know of, I've been able to use it with Fleet. But since Fleet is still in preview, I would just use IntelliJ IDEA. So this is the leading Java and Kotlin IDE. I think there is no other editor that we can see works with Java and Kotlin as good as IntelliJ IDEA. And we're gonna continue with that same trend, and we're gonna use IntelliJ IDEA for our platform. So I'm gonna launch IntelliJ IDEA very quickly for my case. So there's this app that just opened. So I'm going to open my actual application. So I was working on this some time back. So let me do that. I'll navigate to where my project is. So I extracted in the desktop. I think it needs to have a small refresh. in the home desktop BMI calculator. So that's the name of my folder or my app. So I'm going to open that. I'm going to open that. Okay, seems my IDE has decided I'm gonna wait. So I can actually use another one. Thinking probably there was an update that did not work correctly. So can I just show? I can just open my Fleet app, right? Do I have Fleet open? Yeah, can just open Fleet. Let me actually just use Fleet because for some reason JetBrains IntelliJ IDEA doesn't want to open for me. So sorry. Let's get. Let me just first close this very quickly. Yeah, do I have it? Yeah, for some reason it's just decided. Yeah, the demo gods are not with me today. So let me use my Fleet IDE. Actually, you know what? Let's actually use Android Studio. I think Android Studio is very easy to find. So in the event you want to use an alternative ID, Android Studio can also help you out. So if you go to developer.android.com, you could always use Android Studio. I know it says it's called Android Studio, but you can actually use it for any other type of applications that are Kotlin based. So it does have the same kind of tooling because Android Studio is based off IntelliJ. Android Studio is based off IntelliJ. So let's use Android Studio actually, because Android Studio is free. Some people may not want to use a product that is in preview because Fleet is not yet stable. So you may not want to use Fleet. So Android Studio is very stable. It's been used for a long time. So let me open using Android Studio. So let me open using Android Studio. So hopefully this one does not show me wonders like the other one. So yeah, this one has decided it will open. So I'm going to open my application. So open, I'm going to head to my desktop. Once I have my BMI calculator, I'm gonna open in this window. Yeah, of course I trust the project, it's in my computer. So we're gonna let that build. As we do that, I may need to plug in my computer to power. Okay. Just we're gonna wait for just everything to download and set up. There's some libraries that I think probably the latest template has that I do not. The latest code that I do not have, so I'm gonna let that do its thing. In the meantime, let's look at what Compose Multiplatform is. So we've talked about the UI framework being Compose Multiplatform, and Compose Multiplatform is a UI framework. Compose Multiplatform is a UI framework that allows us to develop shared user interfaces with Android, iOS, desktop, and the web. So typically UIs that run on the platforms that we want to target. This platform is based on Jetpack Compose. based on Jetpack Compose. So Jetpack Compose is a UI framework that is used to build Android applications. So it's a UI framework used to build Android applications. And the JetBrains team did us a good one by porting that UI framework to the different supported platforms. So from Jetpack Compose, we can now run it on the desktop, Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. You can run it on the web. This is still experimental, but we're going to try it out anyway. And then iOS is in alpha, so it's not yet stable, but it's moved from experimental to alpha. So it uses the very typical Jetpack Compose APIs and libraries. If you want to know where you can find a bit of stories about Jetpack Compose, you can always go to developer.android.com. So they were the first to introduce Jetpack Compose to the world. And so if we head over to developer.android.com, and if we go over to develop, and then you check on user interfaces, you will see this is the recommended framework. So most of the things that you will be doing, any documentation that you need, very good chance you'll find it on the actual Android platform. Or rather on actual and developer.android.com documentation pages. So all the things would ideally be there. Most of the things you'll do with Jetpack Compose, you can do with Compose Multiplatform, barring just a few things, right? There's some few things that will need platform-specific implementation. So probably how an image is rendered on iOS is not the same how it is rendered on Android. So there will be some small nitty-gritty that you'll change to suit Compose Multiplatform, but it's based off Jetpack Compose. So Compose Multiplatform has a very, very nice set of docs and samples that you can use. And you could always go to the Get Started page. The Get Started page gives you a link to the documentation. And you could always go through a few things here. There's a section that has a sample code that you can think of and use. We're not going to go through that today. But it's just good to know that there's a section where you can find a lot of resources if need be. So I think let's check whether our build has finished. So it's not yet done. Again, I think due to the fact that it's loading a lot of resources that probably I did not have already. So it does take a bit of time. So we're just going to wait on that. We're going to speak on also a few things. A place where you can get more info about your docs, where you can learn from others, where you can speak to the community is the Kotlin Slack channel. I am a member of the Kotlin Slack channel. You should also be a member of the Kotlin Slack channel if you want to always be in touch with the community. The Kotlin Slack channel is very easy to get into. What you just do is there's a link that they do have on their docs page where you can get an invitation to the Slack channel. And then once you get the invitation, you have various, the Kotlin Slack workspace, and there's various channels on the Kotlin Slack workspace. So the one that you want to join is probably multi-platform, but you could also join every other channel that you would want to work with in a specific technology. So if you want to work on desktop, you can join the desktop channel. If you want to work on Android, you can join the Android channel. Web, there's the WASM channel. There's a lot on Kotlin multi-platform that you can use and you can deal with. So I advise very much join those communities because they have a lot of resources through which you can get help from, and you can be able to work with. So I think we are now ready. Yeah, so we're now ready. We're now ready we can explore at the very least how the project folder structure looks like as my IDE completes whatever it wants to do now. This one should not take too long. Yeah, so let's just give it a minute. Nice. So this has completed. So if you go into the project view of your app, you'll see several things that may be of interest. I'll just speak on an overview level for it. On the very important folders. So the folders like .fleet, .gradle, .idea, these are folders you'll generally never edit yourself. So I'm not going to speak about them. .fleet and .idea, they'll just be IDE stuff, and then .gradle will be the build system folder where there's a lot of caches and that kind of stuff. A folder that you are interested in a lot is the Compose app folder. So this Compose app folder is a module that contains your UI for these platforms. So if you're on the web, if you're on Android, if you're on iOS, the Compose app folder is where you'll be editing things to deal with your UI. This is where we'll spend most of our time here. So this is a small Gradle project. It has different subfolders, which we'll get a look into. There's the Gradle folder. This Gradle folder has configurations for your build system. It has a libs versions.toml file. This contains just the different dependencies you want to use. So you can see the different dependencies. So we have like Android X activity compose, constraint layout, material, compose plugin, logback. So there's a lot of Java Compose stuff that has been set up here. Even Ktor will be our networking library, has also been set up here. So those are all our versions. The iOS app folder, this is just the folder that has configurations for how your iOS app will run. We won't edit this section at any point, will not. So I'm just going to skip that, but it has specific configurations that you want for iOS that maybe are different from how they'll run on a regular Compose application. Maybe you want to do some iOS specific stuff. They're going to go into the iOS app folder. There's the server folder, which contains details about our server application. It has different details about our server application, which is pretty nice to see. We said that we'll have a small server that will do the things that we want it to do. And then there's the shared folder. So the shared folder just contains common code for both the server and your Compose app. So that will go here. So all that will go inside the shared folder. Then there's some other files, for example, build.gradle. This just contains Gradle configurations for your Gradle project. There's the Gradle properties. This has properties for your Gradle application. There's a README file, local properties file, but we are not really interested in those today. Today we're interested in just creating our BMI application. So I think we can start with the data part. So the backend part, the server part. We can probably write just our server very quickly, because we just need BMI is calculated using height and weight. So let's have that sorted out. So we're gonna go to build.gradle.kts. Sorry, not build.gradle. Because that one already does have different configurations for us to use. So we're not going to bother with that. We're going to go into the source main Kotlin, and you'll see the application file there. we will see the application file there. The application file will be there. So a lot of things have been set up already. A lot of things have been set up already. So the only thing we probably want to do is to create a route, I guess, to create a route, and that route will just be, we'll be sending data to that route, and then once we get the data back, we will, once we get the data back, we'll display that data on the front end. We'll display the data on the front end. So to start with, we may want to set up some few things that were not there by default. Number one, for us to be able to work with JSON data, we need to add some two libraries. One of the libraries is called Kotlin serialization. And the other thing we want to do is to set up content negotiation. So content negotiation is a plugin that allows us to read through the input that we are getting to the server, process it, and give it back in a format that we would like to. So we'll go ahead and install that very, very quickly. So into our Gradle folder, our libs.version.toml file, and then here we can add, in the library section, we can add our server, content, so this will be for content negotiation. So the module is IO. This is the name of the library, io.ktor, and we want ktor dash. For content negotiation, let me just quickly get where it is. Yes, a ktor server dash content. Dash negotiation. Content negotiation. So the version is just going to be the same version as ktor. So the ktor version has already been defined somewhere. The other thing that we want is for serialization. We also want serialization. So this one is not necessarily on the ktor server. So serialization happens just in general. So I'm going to say ktor serialization. And our module will be io.ktor ktor-serialization, and we want it for Kotlin X. JSON. And we are going to also provide the version. Actually, we're supposed to say version reference, not version. So version reference is ktor. Also for this one that was there before, we want the version reference. Again, this one is for. Lastly, we just need to make sure that both of these are added to our actual server app. So we're going to go find our server application, find our server app. Actually, we can synchronize this for now so that the names are loaded. The names from Toml are loaded. And then we're going to head into the server portion of the app, then open build.gradle.kts. Build.gradle.kts. Once the build has completed, can now just get into the dependency section and add the two. So we're going to have implementation libs.ktor dot so we have something from gateway server dot content. So that's the first one. We also want implementation libs. Keyboard is misbehaving today. Librecator dot serialization. So those two, and then you're going to synchronize our build again so that these dependencies are installed and loaded. These are installed and loaded. So there goes. We now have serialization and content negotiation setup. Serialization and content negotiation setup. The next thing, we just need to make an installation into our app module. So we're going to go to application. This is inside server main Kotlin. So application. I'm going to close this ones out. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install, and the plugin we want to install is content negotiation. That's number one. So we want to install content negotiation. And then we want to configure this with our serializer. We want to configure it with JSON. And we're going to use the JSON lambda to define a few things. So number one, we're going to set pretty print to true. So this allows us to indent well enough. It allows us to do a lot of pretty printing. We can ignore unknown keys. So in case there's a JSON key that the server does not recognize, we can as well ignore it. And then last but not least, probably we can have is lenient also set to true. Is lenient also set to true. So this allows us, in the event we get some info or some data that is malformed and doesn't comply with JSON specification, it relaxes that that restriction. So you have some more permission to have invalid values within your JSON body. Within your JSON body. After that, the only other thing that probably we want to do is we can create a small class. So this class formats our input. This class formats our input. So we'll make it a data class, and we're going to call this BMI input. I think that one looks like a good name. So BMI input. And this data class will have number one, height. So height, this we can take it as a float. And we also have weight. And this can also be regarded as a float. That can be regarded as a float. That can be regarded as a float. Probably let me call BMI input with uppercase I. Or could I use lowercase? That doesn't look good. So let's use BMI input. And we're also going to create another class that formats the outputs. Have another class that formats the output. So this is going to be data class, BMI output, and we'll just output the actual BMI value. So BMI, which is going to be a float as well, and that's about it. So this is generally what we will get as an input and what we'll give as an output. What we will give as an output. Since both of these are values that will come in JSON, we will need to annotate them with @serializable so that the server is able to serialize the values. I think there's something that I need to set up that's not done but we'll get to that anyway. We'll get to that. I will also have at serializable here. We'll have at serializable here. The next thing is we can create a route, right? We can create a route for receiving this input, then sending back output, after which sending back output. So so we currently have a route that just gets and sends a hello. So we're going to leave that to be there, and then I'm going to add another one below it. So this will be a post. The path for this will be /BMI, so it will be able to calculate the BMI. So the route that will calculate the BMI will be just /BMI, and then we can receive the inputs. And this will just be equals to call.receive. Call.receive. We need to provide the type parameters, and I want to receive BMI input. Receive BMI input. Then I can calculate the BMI value. So I can just indicate that BMI BMI equals to inputs dot height. Usually weight over height squared. That should be the calculation for BMI. Yeah, should be weight over height squared. So inputs dot weight divided by inputs dot height dot power. So I'm gonna go to power of 2. So actually, you don't even need this parenthesis set. So that's our BMI value, and then last but not least, we can have a call response. So call dot respond call dot respond, and then we're going to have our BMI output, and that BMI output will contain the value of our BMI. So that's our route. That's our server. That's done and dusted. Actually, we don't really need anything else for our server. Just some simple calculation. We need to have these serializables to work. So the one thing that we left out is we need to set up a plugin. Sorry, we need to set up a plugin. I am tempted to put this plugin in build.gradle because build.gradle that is in shared, because all our apps will need this plugin. So I will go to the plugin section. We'll just say Kotlin, and then we'll say plugin serialization. Plugin.serialization. Actually, we can put this. I have just realized now we can put this inside our lib versions. Right? So inside our lib versions, and yeah, we can put it in the plugins section. So we can just say plugin serialization, and this will be equals to the ID is plugin serialization, and then the version reference equals to our Kotlin version reference. So Kotlin X serialization goes hand in hand with the Kotlin versions. So and have that. We can synchronize the libs file that has changed. Synchronize the libs file that has changed. Oh, yeah, sorry. I need to now change this to alias libs dot plugins dot it's called Kotlin serialization. And then we can try again. Something else has not really worked properly. So Kotlin serialization version 1.9.22 was not found. Okay, let's the most previous working version, I think. Just have a version and then I'll provide the version manually. 1.9.10 should exist. This one I have built with it before, so I think that version is present. I am wondering why this version should exist. This should. Oh, okay. Could I have serialization? So that's written well enough. Okay, let's do this. I was trying to avoid adding it manually. Might as well just do that. So Kotlin again, serialization, and then the version is 1.9.22. I can use our Kotlin version. Our Kotlin version is 1.9.23. Is it 1.9.22? So 1.9.22. I'm gonna try again. This one should just work. I was avoiding to write this manually, but I guess the demo gods today decided, yeah. Okay, so that one was built successfully. So now once we go back to our, that should work now, I think, since this uses also the shared module. That's it. Yeah, it does use the shared module, so it should be fine. Actually, we can change this to API so that we get all the code from that side to our end. So I think this one should be fine. We can go to our front-end app. Don't think we need to do anything more past here. On our server, the one thing probably we could do is try to run the server just to be sure it does work. So let me try to run the app, the server itself. Let me try to run the server very, very quickly. Could not find or load the main class that actually is there. Yeah, application module. This is present. Class not found exception. Do we need to rebuild? Rebuild the project. Because that should just directly work. As that tries to complete, let's go to our front end app. Let's go to our front end application. Okay, so Compose app. Now, in the Compose app section, you'll see various things. There's several subfolders. You'll see Android main as part of source folder, common main, desktop main, iOS main, Wasm.js main. Now, these are what we call source sets, and source sets are subfolders that contain content about the different platforms you're targeting. Android main, you'll write code that is specific to Android. Desktop main, code that is specific to the desktop. iOS main, things that are specific to iOS version, and Wasm.js, things that are specific to your web. We'll write most of our stuff in the common main section because common main will contain things that are common across the board, and we'll go into the Kotlin subfolder and we'll look at the app.kt folder. Sorry, app.kt file. The app.kotlin file. So within here, I think my Gradle is still running, so I might not be able to actually write anything using. I'm not be able to write anything using my IDE before my Gradle build finishes. I'm hoping this one goes quickly. Right, yeah, actually it's gone very, very quickly. Nice. So there's a theme. So this app function is a composable function, and it is whatever creates your UI. It's whatever renders your UI. So I'm going to just take everything inside and get that off. I'm also going to just highlight somewhere and optimize my imports just to have only the imports that I need. And this annotation is not needed. Also remove this import. So just have something bare bones on the material theme, and we will create a very, very simple UI. I think we're going to have 2 input fields and a button and a text. 2 input fields, a button, and a text. Actually, also a progress bar. So those are 4 things. We're going to have this arranged vertically, so I'll put them inside a column. Within this column, I can have my first text field. So I'm going to call this text field. The text field needs several parameters. The first one is the value. I'm going to give it blank for now, and on value change. So this one allows us to indicate how we want the value to, when the value changes, what do we do? And then we can have a modifier, and this modifier can allow us to change and have a look and feel for what we want for our text field, right? So modifier dot fill max width. Modifier dot fill max width. We could have this let it fill 0.75 of the width. 0.75 of the width. So with this, I'm going to just I can actually add the last thing is placeholder. So placeholder, we will just contain another UI element that will be a text. Will be a text, and this text will just say add your weight. Add your weight. And then I'm going to copy this text field. I'm going to copy this text field, attach it down there because we'll have two of them. This one will now speak of height. This one will speak of height. So we have weight, we have height. And then for this one, we can also add something to the modifier. We can have it have a padding at the top so that we can have some distance at the top. So padding top will be equals to, let's have something like 8 density pixels. 8 density pixels. 8 density pixels. So this one will give some distance from the top one to the bottom one. The other thing we could have is a loading bar when we are connecting to the server. So I think we have a circular progress bar. There is a composable known as a circular progress indicator. Yes, circular progress indicator. For the circular progress indicator, we are just going to, can we just add a width and a height? I think that's about it. Yeah, a width and a height. So modifier equals to modifier dot size. Size can probably be 32 density pixels and a padding. So padding from the top. Have that to be another 8 density pixels. Another 8 density pixels. And lastly, we need our button. We need our button. With this button, we need an on click for it. When someone clicks the button, we should do something. Inside the button can contain some few things. So you can have some text to show, yeah, this is calculate BMI. Calculate BMI. And you can also add a modifier for this button. So modifier dot padding, and then we're going to have padding from the top as well, being 8 density pixels. So I think that's good enough. I don't think we need anything else. Yeah, I don't think we need really anything else. We can, oh yeah, something else. There's some few things we might want to do. So when the text field value changes, we need to find a way to update it. So for both text fields, and then for the circular progress indicator, we also need to know, are we currently in the loading process or not? And then, yeah, so I think that's it. That's what we need. So just inside my function, I'm going to declare some state variables for our different text fields and our loading bar. So I'm going to have var weight. Var weight. I know this is supposed to be I'll make this a string. Do I make it? Yeah, I'll make this a string. And I will have by remember, and I will remember mutable state of, and I will give initially the weight will just be 0.0f. So sorry, this should by 0.0, this should be in quotes. So 0.0 should be in quotes. Do that once more, since I've declared this as a string. I'll also have the height, do the same exact thing. And then the last one will be is loading. So this will tell us, is the app currently loading or not? This will be a Boolean. I remember. And then mutable state of false. So initially we are not loading any value. So for our value for the weight, we will replace value with weight, and then on change, so we'll have a new weight value. So I'm going to call it W, just not to overshadow other, for it to not overshadow other parameter names. So W, and this will just be weight equals to W. So we'll reassign the value of weight. We'll reassign the value of weight. Next, same thing with height. Again, replace the value to height. Inside the lambda, the height will be passed in as a variable, as a parameter, sorry. And then we're going to say height equals to h. And finally, is loading is going to be used with this circular progress indicator. So we're going to say if is loading, and we might as well show the circular progress indicator. Circular progress indicator. So that's our app. That's our app. Plain and simple, doesn't have too many things. So let's try and run this app on the different platforms that we have. So we can run it on desktop, we can run it on web, we can run it on Android. So for demo purposes, let me run everything on desktop. It's the quickest one to run. But when we do the final demo, we will do that on all the different platforms. So let's go ahead and we'll go into compose, source, desktop main, desktop main. So just going to press the button for running the desktop app. I'm having a few troubles with my desktop application. So we may need to run it using using the Gradle command line. So let's just check for the tasks. There are several tasks that are pre-created when we use the template. And so you can always just use the tasks to run. So hope this doesn't take too long. Okay, good. So let's see. So we do have a task known as desktop run. So we can run this. So JVM run task for target desktop and compilation main. So yeah, let's do desktop run. So Gradle W desktop run. Desktop run. So this should launch for us. This should launch for us the application. So there's something that's still not running properly. Failed with an exception. No main class specified, and class path is not an executable jar. I am not sure why this is the case. Okay, let's try with a no. I'm getting put the correct. Okay, so there's a huge stack trace. Let's see whether we'll get to the top of where the error starts from. So I kind of doesn't tell me anything clear. So let's try something else. I don't know why my keyboard today has decided. So I want to run from the Compose app desktop run. This also still fails at the same error. Okay, let's find the tasks once more. Just to see what other options we do have. There is run. There's of course some under tasks. Let's see which task works for us. I think there's some. Oops, that's correct. This is the correct one. This one also fails. This one does not fail for some reason. Okay, so our app does run on desktop. So this is kind of how it looks. There is the values that are there, and the nice button for calculating BMI. So that sort of works, right? So let's put some bit of more styling to it. I feel it looks a bit awkward while it's there. So yeah, how about we do that? Let's do that. Let's do some small change. Back to my app. Within our column, I can have a modifier, and this modifier is going to be equals to fill max width. I'm going to also have a padding all round, an all round padding of like 10 dp, and then can have horizontal alignment, so everything to be aligned centrally. Alignment dot center horizontally, and I think that's about that. So let's rerun terminal. Close this and then rerun again. Let's rerun this. So, oh, this one actually runs my server now. Where is my desktop app? Okay. It's clear that I think this you just come down to you setting up some few configurations for what you want to run. Desktop run. Desktop run does not want to run successfully, but it will run. Just run. Does this one work? Yeah, funny enough. Okay. At least this is just a demo, so there will be some configurations you may want to do a bit later. So now I think this kind of looks okay. Yeah, this one kind of looks okay. So we can try now just adding some functionality to. We can add some functionality that will be used to send the data somewhere and retrieve some results back. So we will go back in here in our app file. So I'm going to add another function down here. So this will be a suspend function because you're going to make an asynchronous network call. So this I'll just call make network call to server. Network call to the server. So I'll just say suspend fun, calculate, because that's what it's going to do. And you're going to give me the width and the height. So width will be a float. Height will also be a float. It will also be a float. And I think this suspend function can return our BMI. So our BMI is also float. BMI is also float. Since I have Ktor already set up for networking, I can just create an instance of the Ktor client. So say Ktor client equals to just 1 minute. Okay, we can continue. We can just say HTTP. Oh, we don't have Ktor in our libraries yet. Let me comment that and head to. Is there something wrong with my file? Oh, my file doesn't have a return value, so I'm just going to do some random return value. So we're going to return maybe 0.0 for now. F since it's a float. So let's return that. Then let's go back to our Compose app. So if we go to the Gradle of our Compose app, there are several dependencies that are put in place, but we do not have Ktor. Yeah, so Ktor is not here. Ktor is not here. There is the shared project. I think we can put the Ktor client implementation on the shared project. Yeah, so in our multi-platform dependencies, they go here. They go here. Yes, we can do that. So let me just look very quickly for our multi-platform library. So all this can be found in the Kotlin docs. All this can be found in the Kotlin docs. So we could add to our libs. So Gradle, libs version could come in play, and just beneath here, add Ktor client core. That's actually the only one we need. That's the only library we need. So I have Ktor client core. Hope this one doesn't take too long to build. Sometimes Android Studio can test your patience very much in a very, very, very interesting way. Okay, so that one's done. So go back to shared, and then I'm just going to say implementation libs dot Ktor dot client. Also, there's something extra. Dot core. So Ktor client core. Like that, we're going to have that build very quickly. Looking at the time as well. so that I don't go too far past my designated time. So we have this. Okay, we'll just wait for that very quickly. Okay. Yeah, complete. Okay, fantastic. So it's done building. It's done building. So I can go back now to my app. Try to do something with the Caterer client now. So we have before I actually forget. The other thing I'd want to do, I may need to, our project is set up. I may need to set this as an API instead of implementation so that it actually cannot find something. Let's see. Let's go very quickly. No matching variant is found for preferably optimized for and JVM results. Okay. For now, let's just have all our logic done on the app itself. Network connection, probably I'll update the repository later, and then we'll be able to perform that. So instead of caterer client, let me just change this from let's leave it as a suspend function. We can start with a small delay. So this will just show the loading bar. So probably a small delay of like 2 seconds. A small delay of like 2 seconds. And then we can return. So I call this width instead of wait. So wait. So this will just be wait divided by height squared. Is it height dot power 2? Height dot power 2. So we're just going to delay for 2 seconds so that it simulates the network call and then gives us back the value. Gives us back the value. Now, we want to make this network request every time someone presses the button. Every time someone presses the button. So we can add another variable, another state variable. So this one will be calculate. I'll just make this a Boolean. I remember the state of false. State of false. And then for us to make a network request, we may need to use something called a launched effect. The launched effect is a block that runs depending on a given set of state variables. So I'll say key1 equals to calculate. So when calculate changes, then we need to do something. So the thing that we need to do is, number one, get the BMI, and this will be equals to calculate. So we need to provide the weight and the width. So we'll just say weight dot to float. And then we'll have height dot to float. And then So since this will give us a float value back, we do need somewhere to show the actual BMI. We forgot to add that in the UI, so I'll put it below the button. So BMI is tab. So initially it will be 0.0, and then we'll do something for this. So we will also have another string that has the BMI value. So this one will now be a val BMI. This is a string. We also have by remember mutable state of initially it will be 0.0. It will be 0.0. To avoid name shadowing, I'll say this is calculated BMI for the one that has been calculated BMI. So it's fine. So now at the bottom here, instead of BMI is equals to 0.0, I'll just put $sign BMI, the state variable. BMI. And then actually needed the BMI to change. So that's when we change back to var, and we can say BMI equals to calculated BMI. And this one, we'll convert that to a string because BMI is actually a string here. So calculated BMI dot to string. So we'll need a way to change this calculate value. Oh, also before that, we can change the isLoading value. So isLoading will set this to false. So you've attached the new BMI value, set that to false. We'll also need to make sure our calculate variable changes somewhere. So we'll have that change in the onClick. So let me just remember the name we gave it, calculate. So just say calculate equals to the opposite of calculate. So we'll always be just toggling between the two. Change it to true, change it to false, so that when it changes, the launch effect is rerun and rerun and rerun. What else might we need? We may need also to tell our text field the type of input we expect. And we can use keyboard options. There's a parameter called keyboard options. So keyboard options equals to keyboard options dot default dot copy, and we can say the keyboard type. Yes, keyboard type equals to keyboard type dot decimal. So we need it to be a decimal value. Actually, practice to say that there. We can do dot copy down here though. So keyboard options equals to keyboard options. We get the default, then copy whatever is in the default, and we want to change the type for it to be a decimal. Can have this copied again and place it in the other input type. So I think now our app is complete. Our app should be complete. So let's just refresh Gradle. I think there's something we changed and I did not refresh. And then we go back to my terminal and run this. I hope this doesn't start my server. Yeah, this did it. It actually started my server. I don't want it to start my server. I wanted to start my desktop app, so I'm going to rerun it again. Of course, you'll not be doing this daily. The changing of running individual times to guess where it goes. It's just our configurations. I think the amount of time we have. So let's change this value. So assuming I have 100 kg, and my height is probably I'm assuming this is supposed to be. I'm assuming this is supposed to be. What do you call this? In meters. So I'm going to say 1.2. 1.2. And then I'm going to say calculate BMI. So it does actually calculate, but there's some action that needs to change. So it did not show us the progress bar, but it does calculate the BMI though. So probably need to go and check something that we left. Oh, we need to say is loading to change that to true when you click the button. So is loading, set that to true. Actually, let's set that to true before. And then we go back, close, run, will open my server, then I'll close again. For whichever reason it wants to open my server first and then my desktop app. So here is the text. So we're just going to again 100.25 or something. And then I'm assuming it could be like 1.99, almost 2 meters. So calculate, you'll see our progress bar. Once that is done, the BMI value is present. So this has run on the desktop. So this is my desktop app, complete and dusted. So we could also run it on the server, so on the web. So let's try running it on the web. Was that? Let's find the tasks for running on the web. Running on the web, I think it's usually wasm.js something. wasm.js development run. Yes. So here we go. Copy that. Let's run that. So we're going to say compose app and paste the name of the task. So have that execute. Give it some small time. All right, so very nice. It has run on my web browser. So you can see my web app here. Here's my web app. Kind of works the same way. I don't know if I've zoomed in too much. Okay, so 200, or maybe you are 75 kilos and you're like 1.6 meters. Okay, BMI, the progress bar shows, and then the value of BMI shows. So it runs on the server as well. It runs on the web as well. We've seen it on my desktop, and we can try running it on my Android device. So we're gonna close that. We're gonna close that. Do I have enough RAM left to run items on the Android emulator? Let's see. Yeah, why do I have a feeling like it seems like I'm running out of system memory for whichever reason. So let's see. Let me hope, because I've run several Gradle tasks actually. To avoid risking it, let me just restart my IDE, because I may open that and then cause my entire system to crash. So let me just restart that quickly, free up some system RAM, then start my virtual machine, my virtual device. So let's do that. So I think from there, I'll start taking questions in case anyone has any questions. Because the demo should be done. I will update the repo, and then probably it will be part of one of the pinned comments on this video. So yeah, it will be one of the pinned comments once I put everything on the repo, and I actually add the networking. I think the networking bit, I wanted to show that very, very much, but for some reason, the Ktor client did not want to set up quickly enough. So yeah, I'll do that at another time, and then probably by Monday you'll have the updated repo in the pinned comments. Okay, so my device is running. Gradle is still telling me what it wants to tell me. So as that happens, I'll continue taking any questions if there are. Okay. Seems there's still no questions on the chat. So I just see a few comments. From Don, great content here. Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much. John Denver, hello as well. Brian, Ian is always making gold. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that you consider my work as gold. That I do not take for granted. So is my app? Yeah, so my app is starting to run. So just give it a minute. Yeah, so just I think maybe as is it a caution? Yeah, it's probably a caution. If you're planning to do anything on Kotlin development and things related to Android, find a computer that's at the very least 16 gigabytes of memory. I know 8 is what is said on the Android Studio page, but I feel like that's not really the case nowadays because different apps now use quite a lot of system memory. Your browser uses a lot of system memory. Um, yeah, your browser uses a lot of system memory. Your the IDEs that you use a lot of system memory, so it kind of could strain your machine very much if you have less than 16. I know they say 8, but I don't think 8 is true nowadays. So now here is my Android app. So it's the same idea. I can just calculate the values I want, probably 50.5 or 50.2, and then probably you are 1.6 meters, and then calculate BMI. We'll get our loading bar, and then we'll see the value of our BMI. So you can see it runs on all these platforms without having to write any other piece of code, right? I only wrote the app section. It's the only thing I wrote, and it runs on every single place, on Android, on web, on desktop. The reason why we did not test out iOS is because for you to run iOS applications, you need to have a Mac-enabled device. So you either have a MacBook, a Mac Studio, some Apple device of some sort for you to be able to run iOS apps. That's not a limitation of the technology stack itself. That's a limitation on Apple's side. So for their products, they just need you to do everything on their platform. So that's why we've not been able to check that out, but you can believe me, or you can even test yourself that it actually runs on iOS as well. But yeah, that's just a limitation on Apple's side. That's not a limitation on the Kotlin technology. It's not a limitation on the Compose multi-platform framework. That is a limitation on Apple's side, and JetBrains can literally do nothing about that to help your life be a bit easier. So that's why we didn't test it, because I do not use a Mac as my daily driver, and so yeah, we would not get the chance to do that here. I think that's that from me. I don't see any questions, so probably Stella, Yeah, I may need to call you back in to give us your words on the end of the workshop today. Mic check. Not sure if I'm audible enough. I don't know if Stella, you're on the call. Okay, I think probably some technical difficulties. So I think I'm gonna just wait for questions, vibes, and inshallah until our host checks that out for sure. But yeah, I'm thinking Kotlin multi-platform. It's still relatively new. You can see iOS is in alpha now, and uh, it still has a long way to go. So it's a relatively new technology. I think work on it started like 2017. In tech terms, that sounds like it's old, but as a library, as a framework, that's still some way off. If you consider that React has never created a framework, and React has been in place from 2013, so it goes to show it's a very 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 uh, relatively young technology. There's not a lot of resources online right now. The Slack channel, the communities are what are building the resources right now. So I urge you to be a part of it. Come join us. Come, let's do some nice Kotlin multi-platform stuff. I think this technology will give room for us to really, 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 really enjoy building apps, and especially with the Kotlin language, because the Kotlin language, it's very very expressive. It's very easy to read even on the eyes, and it's usually just, I feel it's a quality thing to use and try and do. So yeah, I think I don't know if Stella, you're back on the call, because my time pauses there. Yeah. So mic check.